Greetings, magnificent.
Okay. Is it the slam?
We'll start again.
It was too close to be good.
That's okay. Yeah. Greetings, dear magnificent being, eternal that you are. That's who you are. Don't worry. You can't die. You can't. It's no, not you. Not at all. No. Topic: give up self-hatred. How to give up self-hatred. See, it's that hatred of self that we've been, through the guilt that we feel for all the things that we've done or didn't do, and we have full memory of that. It's stored in the memory bank of the astral plane that has the mind, false intelligence, false ego. You have to have an identity because it's who you are, but it doesn't need a label. It's who you are. And this self-hatred is what is used to police ourselves, to keep punishing ourselves. And I was talking with someone we were working with in counseling on the phone, the counseling on the phone, they're working and teaching, and it was like, it was dealing with the problem of weight on the body and not being able to control that, and there was more and all that. And so we got down to really what the issue was, is she's been using that to hate herself. That there's something wrong with her because she was eating this much or gaining the weight, and hating herself and feeling not okay. And what we looked at is she was really doing that really just to protect herself. That's really what she was doing. And also to get pleasure and satisfaction from the tongue. And that's one of the hardest things to control, is the tongue, for what we say and what we eat, what we put into the body. Because, in every healing there's a psychological aspect and the biological, as well as not even the spiritual, but because the spiritual doesn't have a problem, but it's that cause of it, that why we do that, motivated to do that, and then the biological aspect of what we follow up with, say the food or the drink and that sort of thing. So the deal is to take a look at giving up this self-hatred, and to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that what you got is actually what you wanted, and to acknowledge yourself for what you did. You were trying to protect yourself. When I noticed that, when I used to drink alcohol, I thought I couldn't have a good time without it. I had an inferiority complex, feeling not okay and around others. And then but the problem with alcohol, it's also a poison, in my opinion. And you say terrible things because you believe the thoughts, the mind, and it's a cesspool. It's really a cesspool. It's nasty and dangerous. And what happens is that this self-hatred then is self-punishing, and it's when I used to do goddess retreats and such, I would always have the women touch, in meditation, touch every part of their body and ask for forgiveness for judging and hating their face, their body, their feet, their genitals, because all of this hatred. And then also, like some people preferring a male body to a female, how all of this kind of confusion, where in certain places they would kill baby girls because they want baby boys, because the baby girls weren't good, and then you have to do this to the baby boys and all this. And one of my students from the past, who took birth in another country I won't mention, but it was okay that little girls were not considered, and still a human being until after 10 days. So you could kill them if you wanted, because they weren't really. What is that? That's a concept. We say, well, that's their truth. No, that's their illusion. That's their falsity. That's what they believe and think. That's how dangerous that thinking is, when you don't know what you're doing. And these beliefs. There's an absolute that you do not try and cause distress, harm, kill, or eat another living entity in body, human or animal. You see? And people say, well, it's so inculcated within our culture that even my talking like this, people say, well, you're crazy. You're saying, yeah, Take a look at your life. Take a look at your body and your health. and your relationships, and take a look at what you're in. Where are you going? Where'd you come from? You see, what's going to happen to you? Well, I don't know. You're right. You see, this is what you want to find out, and what you want to know, what you want to delve into. And the knowledge exists, you see. And as my work as a spiritual sleuth, because I've studied pretty much everything out there that I ever could that had any relation, any hope for me to know myself and know who I am. And what we do is we take the best, we discard the rest, because we know what fits and what feels right, not what according to the mind. And yeah, you could do that. You can fit according to the mind. You could attain all these things in the world if you want. You could just play the game. You could do that. But you're an eternal being. And when you're playing in those games are very dangerous to the soul, to the person, because they sell their soul in exchange for 5 cents gratification and some kind of longevity in a mechanical machine kind of a world. There's a lot of people that are going for that. And that's what they want, that's what they go for. It's not my choice. And so there's, when we're talking the woman with the weight thing and any kind of an issue like that, we start to blame her. I'm not good enough. I didn't make enough money. And some people, you know, they're feel criticized all the time because they didn't make a lot of money. So it means you're not a success. Oh, you didn't make enough money, so you're not a success. You know, you're not valuable. You don't own your house. You don't own your property. You're not an Uber person. You're not an Uber person and everything. And so you're worthless. You're just collateral damage. We don't even really care about you because you don't really have any power, and you're a useless eater. You look at those people talking that way. And it's like useless to whom and to what and for what, you see. And so this whole program then is set up in the mind for you to hate yourself. And what happens is too, you have to understand how it works. If you get real excited about something, you're going to usually fall on the other side because you're jerking yourself around. I'm not talking about enthusiastic and energy and vitality. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those expectations, and you get high on it and then you get low. And you don't need highs and lows, because when you're in the constant state of self, you're always in pleasure, because there is the divine pleasure of the self in relationship with the beloved. So there's both how the psychology, the biology, but also the spirituality, where all healing, really, spiritual mind healing, is knowing the absolute truth. And by knowing the absolute truth, you don't give power to the illusion. So therefore, you're not living in the illusion, you're living a real life, because you are life, and you're not an enemy to yourself. And that's why I say the mind is the greatest terrorist weapon ever invented. And people say, yeah, but there's divine mind. Well, that's a word and a label we're giving to people who need to have the word mind. Do you understand that? And to be mind of something is to be like a miner going in and extracting from everything it can from resources. So they're mining, whether they're mining bitcoins now, or they're mining gold, or mining silver, but they're mining people, so mind your mind, you see. And you are a reservoir of power. You are a reservoir of energy. You are a reservoir of vitality. You are a reservoir of life. You are a reservoir of beauty, and you know, it's basically, you could create planets and universes if you want to do that, but who was? Too much work. But the deal is, when you give up self-hatred, it isn't about self-love. See, a lot of people say, I love myself, I love myself. Well, who's yourself? Yeah, I love myself, and super self being my God, but you can't love yourself because you can't be a subject and object at the same time, because that's called narcissism, and narcissism is obsession with you as the focus of everybody's attention and power. And also all these people have to have a lot of attention always out there in the public, in the news and all that, or it's always building consciousness in everybody else to think you're less and they're more, you see. So you're less and you're more, so you got to hate yourself because you're no good, you see. And you got the program, you're not good enough, you'll never be good enough, it's never going to work, there's no hope for you, it's never going to happen. So then you hate yourself all the time, hate yourself, feel guilty. They got to body, eat more, drink more, drug more, do whatever so you could feel good, because you're so busy hating yourself that you're suffering so much, or hating them or resenting them, and you're ruining your whole experience, you see. So how you stop that is to realize you've been doing it and say, what are you getting out of it? What are you using it for? Why are you doing it? Well, most people never ask those questions because they don't know the cause is over here, you see. So when you bring it right back here, there's only one power for absolute good. There's nobody working against you. Oh, they appear like they're working against you. They might think they're working against you, but you don't allow anybody to work against you, because you're in the harmony and the balance of the divine and the love. So just stop hating yourself. And the words that you use and talk about yourself, and the thoughts that come forth, and then you agree with them and believe that, and all of this, and take yourself right down into depression and giving up the very thing that brings you the joy and the love. See, you need to do your work. You need to express yourself, your talents and ability, whether anybody else wants it or not. That's not really what it's about. It's about you standing strong and not allowing any oppressor, because you realize that those who out there trying to oppress you or depower you or take from you or suck your life force out of you are basically people who are controlled by the mind. They're controlled by somebody else. They're controlled by their beliefs and their thoughts and these concepts. They're bonkers, basically, because they're not centered in the self and the absolute truth of who we all are, you see. And then they say, well, it could never be that harmonious because look at what nature is here, the survival of the fittest. Well, who brought that up, you see? We don't need to worry about survival. We're eternal beings. And when you know that, you thrive, you flourish in every moment. Yes. Okay, here we go.
And then there's some flowers on the trail.
Where?